I'm Managing Director for Indonesian Consulting for Accenture. And what I want to do is perhaps take what the previous speakers have been talking about, and really they've been talking a lot about the startup sector, small to medium enterprises, etc. From an Accenture's perspective, we think that there's real value in the old economy, and I'm a good representative of the old economy. See, I came in a suit. I asked my marketing director whether I should wear a tie, and she said, "Don't wear a tie." Okay. But really, the real benefits we think and the real opportunities are in the old sector to really apply digital technologies, particularly in a combined way, to deliver significant benefits. And so what I'd like to do is talk about the reinvention of industry through the use of digital. So we're facing today what we'd call the perfect storm of quite a changing environment. The speed of markets are accelerating, so we're finding technology innovation. Every day you look and there's some other technology. And in Indonesia that's particularly apt because Indonesians are very entrepreneurial, as I've discovered. And so lots of technology innovation, a lot of disruption or attempts at disruption. I'm looking at the Gojek booth just out the door here. Good example of disrupting what has been a fairly traditional business. Time to market is really decreasing. An example really is out of the banking sector. So Accenture does a lot of work in digital space, and it's now become common that clients want us to develop their digital solutions in about 6 months, from identifying what the customer needs are, the personas, through to actual implementation, online digital portals. And that's common now. So 6 months is the new standard, and in fact we've got a client at the moment in Indonesia that's saying, no, I want it out by Ramadan because I want to capture the Ramadan market. So 4 or 5 months, really challenging time frames that we're seeing, but it is, time to market is changing. The makeup of products is changing, where we see previously you had technology as an adjunct, as a support. Now technology is in the machine, technology is in the product. And we're seeing a change in the workforce. So historically, you've seen people in one place, you've seen very standardized ways, hierarchical ways of working. With generation X, Y, Z, whatever comes after that, I said I'm an old guy, so it doesn't really relate to me, but they actually want to do things differently. They want to change the way they work. And we're seeing, particularly in the technology space, that we have virtual development. We have people coming from Kazakhstan and different places. We source from many different places in a virtual way to build products. And then there's the new economy, and given that I've said that I'm the old guy, I remember .com. And I always thought that was a bit shady myself. The fundamental difference now is I think we're monetizing digital in the way that was promised by .com but clearly never was delivered. And so we're seeing, in terms of the new economy, we're seeing that it really is delivering new value in the digital space. And so the changes in the technology landscape, he has a problem with his technology, are really driving the digital reinvention of industry. And there's a couple of things on this page I'd like to highlight. And the first one is that first point about 6.4 billion connected devices. And if you count the number of times I say connected in this speech, you'll get the message. This is all about connection. This is all about not using piecemeal digital, but using digital technologies in connection. So many connected devices. A good example, when I came to Indonesia, I would have said that agriculture is probably the last place you're going to find digital. But in fact, what we're seeing, and with Accenture clients, is agriculture is very much using digital. So we have been working with clients, for example, in the agricultural space, combining onboard technology in things like tractors, combining drones and satellites for taking imaging, big data around things like weather patterns, and combining that, stitching that together, using data science to drive out insights around productivity for agriculture, the health of the plants, etc., and being able to do that in a way that you never could before. That's Indonesia. So we're seeing very much connection of technologies and devices. We're also seeing that AI is huge. It's growing huge. And so once again, when I was studying computer science at university, before most people in the room were born, AI was one of these research topics that the boffins in the computer science department were talking about. It's mainstream now. And so what we're seeing is the combination of analytics combined with AI generating real benefits and moving us beyond simple automation, robotics of process towards real value add and starting to take over functions that traditionally would have been only human functions. And speaking of those functions, chatbots. So 58 million in chatbots. Once again, in Indonesia, we've been doing chatbots also. So this is a huge area of growth. And for companies, it's a great opportunity because the real challenge in human interaction that companies have is the inconsistency in terms of the customer experience, etc. Using chatbots, you can get that consistency, you can improve the customer interaction. All of these things are driving a fundamental growth in the demand for processing power and obviously in terms of data. And data, to be honest, is the new frontier. Historically, over the last 10 or 20 years, it was all about applications. Now it's about data analytics and driving insight. And you've seen these charts before. So once again, back in the 60s and 70s, you had a very long life cycle in terms of growth of technologies. As we've gone through the years, these cycles are getting shorter and shorter. And so talking about AI, etc., getting to critical mass has been very, very quick. So once again, I started when it was System 370. They're still here in some places, but other technologies have certainly overtaken it, which imposes challenges for industry leaders. And I don't think there's a day that I have a meeting with a CXO where the topic doesn't get around to digital. And that doesn't matter whether it's the CEO or the head of R&D or production, and certainly the CIO. And now our conversations are, where does digital sit in the organisation? How do I think about my legacy technology versus digital? Should I have it in the same place? Should I have a specialist for digital only? How do we think about it? So what we're seeing at the moment is many, many questions from CXOs about, what do I do with digital? And so in terms of thinking about digital, and this gets to the point that I was making, digital reinvention, I'm just seeing how easily you can read this chart. I promise this is probably the most detailed chart I have. I am a consultant after all. But the real benefit of digital reinvention, and this illustrates the value chain for an industrial company. But what we're seeing is new technologies, new digital technologies in every aspect of the value chain, and we're seeing the combinations drive fundamental improvement in the value. And you know, you take some examples. Research and ideation. It's gone from very slow process, going out, doing lots of surveys, to crowdsourcing, using new design thinking tools, outcome-driven innovation, to the point that the panel was making previously around ecosystems. We're seeing real value in collaboration with suppliers, partners, internal teams. And the organisations, the traditional organisations that are winning, are the ones that are embracing and exploiting the new businesses, the new startups that can actually deliver real value. We're also seeing in areas like virtual validation, where historically it's taken a long time to market, that we're having less physical testing. So simulations and the use of digital twins to simulate the results in terms of physical testing of new products. So many different technologies that we're seeing along the way. And this plays out in terms of the potential savings. And I'll just give some examples here. For example, when the business is saying we're not getting the right product out on time, what we're seeing the application of combinations of digital delivering are things like 2 to 4% increase in revenue due to the right product mix. And so the right product mix is around things like personalisation, hyper-personalisation, really understanding what the customer needs, driving the definition of product, not from the traditional macro segmentation, but from understanding customer needs, driving from customer centricity. And clearly 10 to 20% faster product launches, and I talked a little about some of the examples of technologies previously that are using to do that. So all of this, the real challenge for business and for the CXOs and for the boards is, yeah, but does this deliver a bottom line result for me? Because these guys in traditional businesses, they're not so enamored with the technology. They want to see if there's a bottom line result. And what we're actually seeing is a real bottom line result. I'll reference in a couple of places now a survey that we've just recently completed. This is almost 1,000 companies, around 20 industrialized countries. And we asked people about their use of technology and combinations of technology, and we've measured the impact of combining technologies. And we've seen that, for example, for some of these industrialized industries, something like an average US $85,000 per employee saving. And we've seen something like 1.6 billion US in average total savings. Now recognize I'm talking about industrialized countries, and so major companies outside. So you have to do the translation from to an Indonesian context, because most people wouldn't spend on average $85,000 per employee anyway. But there is significant savings we're seeing in this, and the combinations of technologies and the sorts of technologies we're talking about across the industries are 3D printing, autonomous robots, artificial intelligence, blockchain, digital twins, as I've mentioned, big data, machine learning, mobile computing, autonomous vehicles, AR, virtual reality. So the combinations of these technologies across various industries, and it's different for each industry. So the combinations are different, but they are generating significant savings for each of these industries. So what's this X.0 all about? Is it just another Accenture marketing terminology, or what exactly is it? So if you think about moving through the ages, so 18th century, Industrial Revolution, 20th century, the birth of mass production. More recently, the use of technology for automation and to reduce the processing in information-intensive industries, and today the use of some of these technologies that I've also already mentioned. What we've found, though, is the technologies are being used in a piecemeal fashion. So you see the application of digital technologies in one sub-process, one technology somewhere in the process. Industry X.0, from our perspective, is about the real value of combining those technologies to deliver well beyond what you can get from individual piecemeal technologies. And so what is the definition of Industry X.0? So it's, as it says here, smart, connected digital products, once again connected, and assets that are creating hyper-personalised. So we're moving away from mass production to hyper-personalised experience. Industrial experiences, new levels of operational efficiency, new sources of revenue growth. And so the way we think about Industry X.0 is it's a combination of new services and experience together with acceleration and efficiency of the core business. And we think about this together. So I'm just noticing my friend up the back is giving me the wind-up, so I'll try to move quickly through my dizzying number of statistics now. But look, this is the combination of how we think about it. So much of the focus is around the new products and services, the innovation, human-machine interface, etc. So a lot of what we hear about in terms of digital is in that space. And we think that's important. But we think to really deliver value, there has to be an acceleration of efficiency and a transforming of the core. So what I would call digitization of the core business. And this is where the real value is, the application of those technologies to deliver a fundamentally reinvented business. And it's on top of the platforms of cybersecurity and analytics in particular. And you will find that the hottest I guess, staff skill that I think is in the market at the moment is analytics. Anyone that's got analytics is in huge demand at the moment. This is really the new opportunity. And this is delivered in a smart way. So smart, connected, living and learning way. Smart product processes, self-monitoring, end-to-end communication, connection. In terms of living, you not only have to use the technology, you have to transform the culture and the way in which the business operates, and it needs to be adaptive and learning. So I won't drain this slide primarily because I'm going to run out of time, but we see that there's a number of different things that you need to do, a number of transformations of the industry, of the organisation, moving from products to experiences and services that relate to the customer. From multi-year programs to open continuous product cycles. So much more of the sprints, much less of the 2-year program to deliver. Moving from mass customization, from mass production to mass customization. Cost-driven to ROCE-driven. So this is about optimizing your assets. Legacy companies have massive assets. How do we optimize those assets? From siloed, etc. And very importantly at the bottom there, traditional work teams to a new talent. Once again, remembering that the people need to transform to be successful. And so what I'll leave you with is a couple of final thoughts. In our survey of about 1,000 executives, we asked them the question of how important is digital. 99% said leveraging digital to transform businesses is fundamentally important. 64% agreed that failure to leverage the components of digital will cause them to struggle for survival, to have their own Kodak moment. 92% want to deliver new experiences with smart products, connected products. However, and here's the rub, only 44% of companies were driving new growth through innovation. 34% were looking at transforming their core business, and most disturbing, only 13% were actually doing both. So, huge opportunity because doing both, new products, transforming the core, is where the real money is, where the value is. However, we are seeing in our clients, so I have one client at the moment in a very traditional industrial engineering environment. They've just defined their digital roadmap and they're doing things like predictive maintenance. They're doing a bunch of things in the supply chain all around digital. So my final slide, given my time is up, is really an agenda for how do you think about transforming, how do you think about moving to the new. Firstly, transforming the core. It's not enough to deliver new products in an innovative way, you also need to digitise your core. Focusing on experiences and outcomes, hyper-personalised experience, re-architecting the ecosystem, thinking about what you do best and integrating with other providers and exploiting their capabilities to deliver in a different way. The new business model, so inventing new revenue streams. The workforce is critical. Redefining a new way for working with your workforce, and then managing the wise pivots. We can spend a lot of money on digital failures. Thinking about how you balance the investment between digital and the core is what's important. So with that, I'll finish. I will say that the key summary points are on this chart. I think the chart was in your show bag. So feel free to come and talk to us.